Hi there and welcome to Marketing Insights Live. So today, let's talk about becoming more likable. As an online marketer, you've probably heard it, right? People will only buy from you when they know, like, and trust you. So how do we get people to know, like, and trust us? That's the question, right? I want to share some tips with you today based on a book that I finished reading recently called The Science of Likability. So fortunately, we don't have to act like somebody else, like we don't have to pretend to be who we aren't, right? In order to be more likable. And you don't have to guess and you don't have to learn by trial and error, because researchers have been studying this for decades. And so there is this whole body of knowledge about likability that you can apply not just in your daily life, of course, in your face-to-face interactions. You can absolutely apply this. And in fact, the research that have been conducted are within the context of face-to-face interaction, but the lessons can also be applied online. And so that's what we're going to do today. I am going to go over my notes of what some of these research findings have been, and then out of each one I'm going to extract lessons that online marketers can take from those findings and that you can apply in your digital marketing efforts. So are you ready? Before I proceed, let me just introduce myself. My name is Lexi Rodrigo. I am a digital marketer, content creator, and lifelong learner. And I love to share what I learn with anyone who cares to listen. And that's why, it's a big reason why I do these live videos. I want to give a shout out to Rohi. Hi, Rohi. Interesting topic. Yes, it is a very interesting topic indeed. So Rohi, I don't know if you're watching live. I hope you are, but if not, then definitely catch the replay. And if you are watching live, do say hello in the comments, because that is the only way that I know you're watching. And even if you're watching the replay, say hello and I'll give you a shout out. All right, before moving on, just a few reminders. Turn on your audio so that you will experience this video in the best possible way. Definitely grab a pen and paper, because I am going to have a lot of tips for you in this video. And if this video is helpful, if you learn even just one new thing, would you do me a favor and share the video to your friends and family who you think might benefit? And really, anyone who's breathing can benefit from being more likable, right? And finally, if you have any questions at any point at all, please type your question in the comments, even if you're watching the recording, because I always go back to check if there are any new comments or questions that are posted, and I always reply. All right, guys, ready? So here's the book that I mentioned. It's The Science of Likability by Patrick King. Patrick is a psychology major. He has a psychology degree, and now he's working as a consultant in social interaction. I forget the exact title, but something like that. So in this book, he goes over 27 studies around likability, charisma, attracting friends, captivating people, and so on. And he summarizes the findings from those 27 studies, and he describes how you can apply the findings in very, very practical ways. Now, I've gone a step farther and extracted like how online marketers specifically can apply these lessons, okay? Are you ready? So let's get started. So one of the research findings is that when you invoke positive memories in a person, their mood will improve. And what does this have to do with being more likable? When every time somebody encounters you, they feel good, they're uplifted, their mood is improved. Over time, they will come to associate you with those positive feelings. And this is all subconscious, right? So they will notice that, oh, every time I read Rohi's blog post or watch his videos, they make me smile. And so in the future, like over time, this person will like you more and more just because you make them feel happier and more positive every time they encounter you. And here's a quote from the book. So Patrick says, you become part of their pleasant memory and they begin to be drawn to you without a conscious understanding of why. So lessons from online marketers. The lesson is to always be pleasant when you're creating content online. Always be positive, even if you're sharing a rant, even if you're complaining, there is a way, or let's say you're calling people out on something bad that you think they're doing. There is still a way to do it in a positive and pleasant way. And I think you know what I mean, right? Like there are people online who are just so negative that you just want to avoid them. And then the other lesson is to use levity and humor. Like definitely not all of us can be comedians, and I certainly am not. But I think all of us have experiences that are funny, and once in a while we are able to say something witty or funny that makes other people laugh. So it doesn't hurt to tell funny stories, share funny things that have happened to you or that you've seen or encountered. And it doesn't hurt to learn how to tell a story well. So that is, for example, a skill that I'm always trying to develop, is learning how to tell a good story. So that when you do have like a funny experience, then you know how to tell it. So this reminds me of some friends that I had way back in university, so many years ago. I had a friend who would collect jokes. And so every time we ran into each other, he would share the latest joke that he had discovered. And he would, like this was before digital technology, he would write the jokes by hand in a notebook. So, maybe you want to do something similar. Like every time you encounter a joke or a story that made you laugh, why don't you save it? And this time you don't actually have to write it. Like you can type it, you can copy it through Evernote or something similar, or bookmark it and use it for your digital marketing. All right. So whoever's watching, say hi in the comments so I can give you a shout out, okay? So here's another interesting finding. It's how you can turn an enemy into a friend. So this is like going beyond likability, because here you have somebody who doesn't like you in the first place, right? So how do you shift that person's attitudes towards you so that they start liking you and maybe they can even become a friend? Well, the answer, what scientists found was actually very counterintuitive, and they found that you can turn an enemy into a friend by asking them to do you a favor. Now, not a huge favor, because then it will be too hard for them to do it, right? And then because they don't like you in the first place, they're not going to do it. And nothing so small that it would be insignificant. So the rule of thumb that they give is ask for a favor that they can do in 3 minutes. So it's easy, right? Because it only takes 3 minutes. But then it's not too easy and it's not too hard either. Now, translating this to the online world, I don't know if 3 minutes is still a good rule of thumb, because online 3 minutes is quite a long time. So I don't know, maybe for online this will work for favors that don't take as long as 3 minutes. Maybe shorter would work just as well. But without studying it, we won't know for sure. You'll have to do your own experiment with this one, okay? So the lesson for online marketers is to ask for micro commitments. Ask your audience to do small favors for you. And micro commitments that I think would take less than 3 minutes are, obvious things like clicking on something, sharing, or subscribing is a bigger commitment, right? Because they have to give their personal information. Commenting on a blog post or a video might take longer than the split second it takes to like something, so that's a bigger commitment. But probably something bigger that could take around 3 minutes would be answering a survey, right? So that's a micro commitment, a small favor that's a little bigger than just clicking and sharing. What else could be an example? Like maybe watching a 2-minute video. So those are examples of small favors that you can ask your audience to do for you. Now also, related to this, you can endear yourself to your audience by doing them favors. And so, we already know this as online marketers. The motto is to give until it hurts, right? And to give free content, free tips, free PDFs, free checklists, and so on. But the key is to not expect anything in return. So sometimes, like, I'm a marketer and I feel strongly that there's nothing wrong with asking people to subscribe in exchange for your freebie. But once in a while, it helps to just give something for free without asking for their email address, without asking for anything in exchange, and not expecting, now this is very important, not expecting anything in return. And you really have to own this, and not just pay it lip service. You really have to feel that you are giving freely without expectation of return, because that will come through, right? Okay, next finding is that people instantly bond with other people who have similarities to them. And I think, like, you may have experienced this yourself, right? When you meet somebody, for example, and then you realize that you both, let's say, you studied in the same school, or you came from the same city or town. It's like instantly, it's like, oh, I know this person. That's how it feels like, right? And all of a sudden, you're more open to that person and getting to know them better, and so on. So this is, again, another part of human nature that we can leverage as online marketers. And the lesson for us is to find out as much as we can about our audience or our ideal audience, and to play up whatever similarities you have with them. For example, a large part of my audience are composed of women who are married with children, and probably are empty nesters or starting to become empty nesters. And so I can play up that experience. I can talk about my experience of my children starting to move out of the house. And so what happens is, you have to share as much detail about yourself as you're comfortable sharing. It might be a hobby, it might be your pets, something you read, or even the latest movie you watched. The thing is that you never know what's going to resonate with the person on the other side of the computer screen, right? You never know, unless you really, really know your audience, what's going to be similar between you. And so part of this really is getting to know your audience better so that you know what similarities bind you and you can bring it to their attention. Okay, so super easy, right? Okay, the next one is called the theory of transference. Transference? So let me maybe type that. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Theory of, I think, transference, because transfer, you know. All right, so it's very little. So the theory, what is this theory of transference? So the theory of transference says that, okay, let me see if I can explain that. When you act like somebody, people will treat you like that person you're acting like. For example, when you act like an authoritative teacher, like somebody who knows what they're talking about, then people will treat you as if you were an authoritative teacher, as somebody, an expert. Okay? So the lesson is not that you act like somebody you're not, but because you want your audience, you want to become more likable to your audience, the lesson is to act like a friend. Like you want to be more like a trusted friend to them. So you act like a friend. So this means that you treat your audience the way that you would treat a friend as well. So which means what? Which means you listen to them, you give them your time, you pay attention to them, you're nice to them, right? Even if you're saying something negative, you do it in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings. You're respectful and compassionate. So, and you're also conversational, right? With your friends, you don't use academic language. You're not very stiff and formal, but you're quite informal, casual, and conversational. So if you want your audience to view you as a trusted friend, then you act like a trusted friend as well. Okay. The next one has a name as well, and it's called the Pygmalion Effect. Okay, let me type that this time. I actually really like these names because they make me feel smart. So what is this Pygmalion Effect? And the Pygmalion Effect says that it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So your expectations of another person cause you to treat them in a way that will make them behave the way that you expect them to. Like, I am probably doing a very poor job of explaining this, so let me do it by an example. So for example, let's say I expect my friend Mary to be unreliable. You know, I'm expecting her to flake out on me all the time and change plans at the last minute. And so because I have that expectation of Mary, my tendency is to behave towards her as if she were an unreliable person. And because of that, she will behave unreliably. So, as I mentioned, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So as Patrick King says in his book, people live up to your expectations of them. Okay? So the lesson for us online marketers is to always assume the best of people. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Give your audience the benefit of the doubt. Trust them and expect that they will do the right thing. So an example of how you can apply this is in your guarantee, right? Because when we're selling something online, and especially like a digital product, usually we offer a money back guarantee. And then the more generous your guarantee, the easier you're making it for people to buy from you. Now, let's say somebody said, everyone else is offering a 30-day guarantee or a 60-day guarantee. Why don't you give a 360-day guarantee, like a 1-year guarantee? And then you might think, like, why would I do that? People are going to take advantage of me. They're going to buy my stuff, and then they're going to ask for a refund, even though my product is good. So when you think that way, then you're assuming the worst of people. And because of that, like, you're likely to treat your audience in a way that they will become, they will take advantage of you. But if you flipped it, right? If you assumed like, oh, my audience, my buyers, they have integrity, they're honest, they're trustworthy, so I'm going to trust them with this generous guarantee. And in all likelihood, you will treat them as trustworthy people and they will behave accordingly. So that is the Pygmalion Effect. And I just want to share that in Miracy, where I work, we have some really generous guarantees, including, like, I remember one webinar that Danny Innie gave, where the webinar is free, you just attend it, and you have to commit to attending the entire webinar. And if you feel that it wasn't helpful, then we will give you $100. Like, it's not even a refund because the webinar is free, right? And so again, like, you might think, why would you do that? Like, that is crazy. People are going to take advantage of you. But in fact, of the thousands of people who attended that webinar, I think only 1 or 2 asked for a refund, which is an insignificant percentage of the audience. So trust your audience, expect the best from them, and they will behave accordingly. Right, so the next one has a very cute name as well, and it is the Propinquity Effect. Propinquity, however you say it. So what is this Propinquity Effect? Okay, this one is very easy to explain. It's just saying that the more you see somebody, the more you like them. And so it's similar to the mere exposure effect, right? So just having a lot of exposure to someone will make you more likely to like them or give you a more favorable attitude towards them. So I like the quote that I got from Patrick King from the book. He says, half of the battle in likability is showing up. So in online marketing, this means show up, and show up all the time. Show up a lot in the inbox of your subscribers. Show up a lot on their social media feed. So the lesson for you here as an online marketer is to create plenty of opportunities to get in front of your audience. And that can mean creating different types of content. So it's not just emails. They're not just seeing you on Facebook, but also on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. And it means also like finding opportunities to get interviewed by other people. So it's just like you're all over the place, right? Anywhere they turn, they see you. And again, when it comes to email marketing, email as often as you can. Don't be afraid to email every day. If you have something worthwhile to share with your subscribers every day, then absolutely send an email every day. And they don't even have to read your emails. Just the fact that they're seeing your name there is enough to set this propinquity effect into motion. And which brings me to the point of your email sender name. So unless you're this big company like Apple or Nike or Coca-Cola, your email sender name should be your name, your personal name, and not your company name. So only use your company name. If your company name is a household brand, it's something that everybody knows, like Colgate or HP. But otherwise, I'm guessing if you are a business owner, you're a coach, you're a freelancer, whatever else, even if you have a business name, my advice is to use your personal name as your email sender name. So, let's say you're emailing every day and your subscribers see your name. Even if they don't read your email, they'll keep remembering you. And once in a while, they will read your email, because once in a while, they will be interested in what you're sending out. And then they'll just get more exposure to you and grow to like you more and more. Okay, so remember, half of the battle in likability is showing up. So show up for your audience. And finally, the last one is that we have deeper friendships with people who share our values. And again, it sounds obvious, but it's still worth putting out there. And so the lesson for you is, first of all, to know your values, know what you stand for. Excuse me. And if you've never done it before, it really pays to, sit down in a quiet corner and give yourself half an hour or even an hour to just sit down and make a list of what your values are. What are the things that are most important to you? And even, rank them in terms of importance. And then, share your values with your audience and show yourself standing up for your values, because that way you will attract the people who share your values. And really, you want to do business with people who share your values, right? And if somebody has values that are opposite of yours, you really wouldn't want to be doing business with them. So know your values, stand up for them, and share them. Okay, don't be afraid that you will turn away other people. Really, there's so many people online. You can afford to turn away people who are not a good fit for you. So that is the last lesson for you online marketers from The Science of Likability by Patrick King. If you want to get the book, I posted the link to my Amazon page. You can get it on Amazon. And that is my influencer page. So if you buy it through my link, I will get a very, very tiny commission that Amazon provides. So any questions, please type them in the comments. I will go back and respond to them. Okay? So if there are no questions, thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed going through my notes in the book and picking out the lessons for online marketers. I hope that this has been valuable for you as well. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. Again, for comments, questions, please type them below because I will respond. And I'll see you again next time in the next episode of Marketing Insights Live. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of the day and have a good rest of the week. Bye now.